Tonight on the MTN News, a heartbreaking tragedy in southeastern Montana. 4 members of an Illinois governor candidate's family killed in a helicopter crash. We have the latest. Plus, Billings schools responding after a statewide warning on which flags can fly in the classroom, coming on the heels of other districts passing their own opposing policies. And a major court battle over Libby's asbestos contamination. It could impact hundreds of Montana families. We'll have an inside look at the center of the case. The MTN 430 News starts right now. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday. I'm Andrea Lutz. A tragic story out of southeastern Montana tonight. The son, daughter-in-law, and 2 young grandchildren of Illinois gubernatorial candidate Darren Bailey killed in a helicopter crash near Ekalaka. According to the Bailey's campaign, Zach Bailey, his wife Kelsey, and their children, 12-year-old Veda Rose and 7-year-old Samuel, died when their helicopter went down in Carter County. Their 10-year-old son Finn was not on board. The National Transportation Safety Board says it's investigating the crash of a Robinson R-66 helicopter. Bailey's running mate, Aaron Del Mar, says Zach was an experienced pilot and the loss has devastated the entire family. A big change coming for a local ice sports arena. The Centennial Ice Arena will close once the new Signal Pink Energy Arena opens at Amon Park. The Billings Amateur Hockey League says it's reached an agreement with the Yellowstone Ice Foundation to move all hockey programs to the new facility. The $20 million arena, already under construction, is expected to open in 2026, marking a new chapter for Billings youth hockey and the local skating community. Tonight, pushback against President Trump from America's farmers. Policies like the trade war with China are upending the finances of many American farmers. China is the world's biggest soybean importer, but the country stopped purchasing the crop from American farmers, making it unprofitable. To help ease the pain, the Trump administration says it would bring back essential workers at the USDA, unfreezing $3 billion already allocated in the previous budget. It is a fraction, though, of the $13 billion in new aid farmers expected.
And, farm bankruptcies are on the rise, farm foreclosures are on the rise, farm suicide is on the rise. And the president continues to say that his tariffs are helping us. But the tariffs are hurting America's farmers, and we're going to be losing a lot more farmers this fall. And what we really need is a complete farm moratorium at USDA and other agricultural lenders. We shouldn't be losing America's farms while the president, made some bad decisions here with his tariffs.
And an issue for U.S. cattle farmers. The White House says it may increase beef imports from Argentina, part of a larger $20 billion bailout for the South American country. Data centers are popping up around the world, and Butte could soon be home to a $1 billion facility. Washington-based Saby Data Centers agreed to buy 600 acres at the Montana Connections Industrial Park for a new possible site. But not everyone is sold on the idea. Some residents worry about heavy water and power use. Local leaders say they're listening to concerns, but believe the project could bring major economic benefits and jobs. Montana's top education official is warning schools that state funding and accreditation could be at risk if they don't comply with new state laws governing what flags may be displayed in the classroom. School district leaders in Billings say because of that, they are following state law. Superintendent of Public Instruction Susie Hedelin sent a letter this week to districts statewide warning displaying any flag not recognized by government entities violates state law. The notice comes just a week after Missoula County School Board voted to allow pride flags and others in school buildings, a move that's technically allowed since the pride flag is considered an official flag of the city of Missoula. In Billings, though, the teachers union president says they intend to keep displays within state guidelines.
Like everyone, we expect teachers to obey the law. That's in everyone's best interest. If you don't like the law, then you have to elect people that make better laws.
Well, again, Hedelin cautions state funding and accreditation depend on compliance with that state and, of course, federal laws. Billings School District says they will continue to provide safe, lawful, and supportive learning environments for all of their students.
Hopefully you'll be able to get outside and enjoy the beautiful weather that we've had the last several days around Wyoming and Montana. Today, a lot of sunshine, just a couple high, thin cirrus clouds, and even in western Montana, no wet weather for us right now, but eventually that is going to be changing. Look at our forecast for just the next few hours. It's not going to be changing tonight. We'll still have a mostly clear to partly cloudy sky all the way through the midnight hour. Not a lot of wind yet, but that too is going to be changing. So looking further into the future, keep my eyes on many more things. We still have a mostly clear and cool night tonight, mostly sunny and mild day on Friday. A nice day 1 week away from Halloween. We'll have increasing clouds on Saturday though, and more gusty wind, and bigger changes are coming. I'll have your 7-day forecast in just a few minutes.
New housing data is set to be released today on existing home sales in the U.S. The report measuring the sales and prices of single-family homes, giving us a better idea of how the housing market is holding up. Existing home sales held relatively steady in August, with the median home price sitting at $422,000. The average 30-year fixed mortgage rate, meanwhile, is at 6.59%. That was in August. The NFL is doubling down on Bad Bunny's upcoming Super Bowl halftime show. Commissioner Roger Goodell says the league has no intention of reconsidering another artist. Bad Bunny has been a vocal critic of the president, who in turn called the halftime choice absolutely ridiculous. The Puerto Rican native is one of the most popular artists in the world. He's expected to perform the halftime show in Spanish. Secretary of State Marco Rubio arriving in Israel today as the Trump administration tries to ensure the U.S. brokered peace deal between Israel and Hamas stays on track. The White House is also speaking out against a symbolic vote by Israel's parliament to annex the West Bank. Natalie Brand has the details from the White House.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio is meeting today with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He says he will also be visiting the Military Coordination Center that's working on humanitarian aid and also monitoring this peace deal. Now, before heading back to the U.S., Vice President Vance says he thinks reconstruction in parts of Gaza that are free from Hamas can happen fairly quickly.
Vice President J.D. Vance left Israel today saying he feels optimistic about the ceasefire holding.
I think that we're on a very good pathway. It's very early, but it's a good start.
But he also criticized a symbolic vote by hardliners in the Israeli parliament to annex the West Bank, land Palestinians want for a future state.
If it was a political stunt, it was a very stupid political stunt, and I personally take some insult to it. The West Bank is not going to be annexed by Israel. The policy of the Trump administration is that the West Bank will not be annexed by Israel.
Hours after Vance's departure, Secretary of State Marco Rubio arrived as the Trump administration works with allies on its peace plan, including the challenge of disarming Hamas and rebuilding Gaza.
With momentum in the Middle East, the administration was hoping for progress with Russia and Ukraine, but President Trump is no longer planning a second in-person meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
It didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel like we were going to get to the place we have to get, so I canceled it.
Russian strikes this week targeted civilian sites, including a kindergarten in Ukraine's second largest city. The administration has now imposed new sanctions on Russia's two largest oil companies, saying it's the result of Russia's lack of a serious commitment to a peace process.
I think that they'll certainly have an impact. They're massive sanctions.
A Russian spokeswoman called the new sanctions counterproductive.
President Trump was asked by reporters yesterday whether the administration will send those long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. He said that the training to use them could take 6 months to a year, and that the only way it would be shot is if the U.S. shot it. He said, "We're not going to do that." Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
A high-stakes Libby asbestos case is now before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, a decision that could impact hundreds of Montana lawsuits. BNSF Railway is fighting a $4 million verdict awarded to two families who lost loved ones to asbestos exposure near its Libby rail yard. MTN's Jill Valley reports.
This case is the first and only to go to trial since a 2020 ruling from the Montana Supreme Court. The ruling found BNSF strictly liable for the way it handled Libby asbestos, but gave an exception for their transportation of vermiculite. Common carriers like railways are subject to federal transportation rules, but can be exempt from state laws because they have to move goods, sometimes even harmful goods, across state lines. Last year, a Montana federal court and grand jury decided BNSF was liable and the exception did not apply. The court today, though, heard BNSF's appeal. They argued the railroad only transported vermiculite in Libby, so it should be protected under both Montana's common carrier exception and under federal transportation laws, which they argue preempt state law. The plaintiffs, though, claim BNSF did not only transport vermiculite, they also argued that BNSF allowed toxins to pile up for decades in their rail yard, which they say was not a part of their protected transportation mission. The plaintiffs are asking the Ninth Circuit Court to put the case before the Montana Supreme Court. BNSF is asking them to reverse the district court's $8 million judgment. In Missoula, Jill Valley, MTN News.
In the interest of full transparency, MTN news reporter Sean Wells, based in Kalispell, is a plaintiff in this federal court case. Wells recused himself from all asbestos-related and Libby news coverage in 2021 when he became involved in litigation. The decision reflects MTN News and Scripps' commitment to maintaining journalistic integrity and providing fair, balanced coverage to our viewers. The station makes editorial decisions like this to ensure our reporting remains objective and free from potential conflicts of interest. Well, according to Mara Silvers with the Montana Free Press, there are roughly 200 other cases in Montana against BNSF, waiting for a ruling on this case to fill the gaps of legal questions about common carrier regulations on railways and the extent of federal protections of railways.
This isn't just a straight yes or no question. The nuances of the ruling could have different implications about the other cases that are pending and even about where an appeal could go from the Ninth Circuit. And so there is quite fertile ground for BNSF's appeal and the way that it's pushing back against the implications that this ruling would have on the company for years to come.
Silver says it could be several months before a decision is made on this case.